Today, we are going to be talking about the new crime drama film, The Bikeriders, starring Jodie Comer and Austin Butler and Tom Hardy. So go ahead, let's dig into it. Warning. The following show features reviews from wildly unprofessional critics operating without the supervision of professionals. The thoughts and opinions held by these individuals are not to be taken seriously and do not come from a place of intellectual integrity. This show doesn't reflect the opinions of Criticless or its users. Viewer discretion is advised. What's up? What's up? What is up, everybody? Hello, and welcome back to another episode of Criticless Cast Unhinged. We got a mixed up squad again today, not the regular crew, which is going to be fun. And we are going to be talking about The Bikeriders, which I previously mentioned. I was pretty excited about this movie, and it's been delayed and pushed back and moved around and all sorts of things, and it's finally made it to theaters. So I'm really curious to see what the reception is and how this all shakes out. But I definitely want to go ahead and dig into this movie, so I will introduce Miss Zena Verlack.
Hey guys.
I told her I wasn't going to mess with her, and then I just wanted her to think that I was going to mess with her, and then I didn't mess with her.
Reverse psychology.
Yes, exactly. And Mr. Chris Kaus.
What up, everybody?
And by the way, if you don't know, we are a part of Criticless, which is my website. I am the owner, CEO, founder, whatever you might like to call me, head douche, which is what most folks call me around there. So make sure to go to criticless.com, check us out, visit us. It's a website and an app. We are in Apple and Android stores. Like I said, it's for entertainment, TV shows, movies, and just leaving reviews, hanging out with friends. We're a social platform trying to scoop up those old MySpace vibes, just a fun social environment to hang out and have fun. So do that. But let's go ahead and get into this review. It's going to be a spoiler-free review first and then a spoilery review. So we'll tell you when to bail so it doesn't get ruined for you. Without further ado, guys, what should we say about the Bikeriders before we kind of get into the usual stuff? I mean, anything we need to preface, maybe for the folks that don't know what they're getting into with this movie?
I mean, I would say it's very drama forward. I thought it was going to be a little bit more action, but it is very much a drama.
Right. And this movie was not what I was expecting. And which now kind of after seeing it, it's like, oh, okay, of course that's what it was.
Yeah,
but
it makes total sense.
And this is a period piece as well. It takes place in the mostly 60s and 70s, correct?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
And this is based off of a novel. Now, from what it sounds like, it is in the beginning, they kind of say loose. I don't know if it says loosely based or what it was, but it's like, it doesn't sound like it's a one-to-one. It's
it's based on a true story written by someone that just observed what was going on.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's based off of a documentary that was done in the 60s.
Right, like a book.
Even the late
book, though, I guess.
Yeah,
not
it was
like
just
a film.
book, yeah.
Right. But it was a documentary.
A documentarian
book.
There we go. From a documentarian.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they call it.
Which it felt like a documentary.
It
really
I think
is.
that's why I appreciated it more. It was very almost dry like that.
Right. Yeah. And so, given the name, The Bikeriders, this is literally about that. A motorcycle gang, some bike riders back in the 60s and 70s. And this is basically just a fly on the wall perspective, which is like the guy who wrote it, the documentarian who started when he was young. And it goes over a time span of him being involved with this biker gang, which was the real world thing that happened. And this is just kind of a reenactment of those events and what happened and what he witnessed. And the actual guy is a character in the movie as well. So they really lean into that whole aspect of it. Now, what I did not mention was, everybody that's in this film. Now, I did mention Jodie Comer, Austin Butler, Tom Hardy. They're the big three, but there are a lot of other folks in it. And I'm not sure that I want to spoil that if you don't know, because these characters just kind of show up as the movie's chugging along. And I feel like it's almost better not to know if you haven't seen the trailers.
True.
Agreed.
So I'm going to kind of hold that close to my chest. Now, one thing I did need to bring up, because I felt like Xena would actually be excited about this, is I was not aware of much about the director. So this is written and directed by Jeff Nichols. Now, Jeff Nichols did Midnight Special. If I remember right, were you not a fan of that movie, Xena? It starred Michael Shannon. We were recently talking about it. It's about a father and son. and a child has special powers.
Oh,
And
yes, that's
okay,
the movie I always
yes,
freaking forget about the
yeah,
name, but the movie is freaking fantastic,
right.
and it's, like, highly underwatched.
Yes. And I've heard a lot of good things about it, but I've not seen it. And actually, literally a couple days ago, Sid brought it up to me and was like, "Hey, didn't we mean to watch that? Wasn't Zena and Matt saying it was really good?" And
Yes.
so this is the director of Midnight Special, as well as the movie Mud, which was one of those movies during the McConaissance that threw Matthew McConaughey, into the level of stardom that he is
Oh, yeah.
now.
Which I never watched that.
I didn't actually see Mud
Yeah.
either,
Same.
but this was kind of one of those indie drama films. So this guy has been attached to some other bigger films, and he's done more than just those. But those are the big two that I kind of know him for. So just kind of wanted to preface that before we dig into it. Now, as far as how the show normally goes, what I do want to do is go ahead and guess the Rotten Tomato scores. I am curious what the critics are going to think about this movie, and I'm sure that most of them have seen it at this point. So I really want to guess the critic scores and the audience scores within Criticless. Now, I think we're only going to have about 3 or 4 scores. I actually saw before coming in here that Odin is watching it right now, so I'm sure his review will be up on Criticless soon.
Nice.
And we already have 3 others, so there is a little bit to base things off of, but not a whole lot.
Okay.
So I can go ahead and kick this off if y'all want.
Do it.
Give
Yeah,
y'all some time to
please.
think. So as far as the Rotten Tomatoes scores, I feel like this is one of those more anticipated films, like I said, with it getting pushed back. And it kind of has the vibe to me of one of these more like indie-esque A24 type films
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
the indie dramas that they do, not the weird edgy stuff, but more of the
Sure.
other side of filmmaking that A24
Yeah.
does. It kind of has that vibe to it. And critics tend to be into that. I'm going to say that this is going to be now, obviously, Rotten Tomatoes scale is different than the Criticless scale, but I think that critics overall, if you were to think about love it or hate it, they are going to be sitting at around an 80%. I think this is going to be fairly high.
Okay. All right. Zena?
I don't know. I feel like normally I would agree that
Yeah.
they're gonna be higher,
Right. You
but
think they might be harder on this?
I think they're gonna be hard on it because of the Furiosa thing, which we'll talk about
Right.
later.
Okay.
But I think that they're gonna come in hot on it because it's an all white male cast essentially, and
Right.
it's an
Yeah.
all white
Right.
cast.
Right. It
Like,
really is, which in Hollywood is not normal anymore.
yeah. So
Borderline not allowed to do that anymore. So
yeah, so I mean, it makes sense for the time period and everything,
right.
obviously,
Right.
but
Well, and that's become the weird thing about a lot of period pieces these
yeah.
days is because of all of the forced requirements on a lot of these
Mhm.
studios and creators. They're making things where you're like, this isn't
This
period
doesn't make
specific at
sense.
all. This literally doesn't make sense.
Yeah,
Like,
so
yeah. So that is an interesting point.
so that's why I'm kind of like, I feel like they might tank it just because
Hmm.
of that, and so I'm gonna say 65%.
Okay.
Oof.
From the
Okay.
critics. So we were at
All
80
right.
and a 65, Chris.
Yeah, there's so many factors that go into the scoring for this. Like,
Right. Especially
so
with the critics and
yeah,
Yeah.
how persnickety they can be. And
yeah, and also the expectation that led up to this, at least based off of the trailer.
right.
Like I know you had said it's different than what you thought it was going to be, and it's totally different than what I thought.
Yeah.
Right.
Like the trailer for this movie made it seem like the most badass hardcore. It was like, well, I've also
I feel
never
like Sons of
seen.
Anarchy.
Almost kind of
I
like
was gonna say I've never seen that, but I imagine that's what Sons of Anarchy
Sons
is.
of Anarchy meets Gangs of New York
Yep.
without all of the like dialogue. That's what I thought this was going to be.
Right.
That is not
Yeah.
actually what this
Yeah.
is.
No,
Mhm.
this is
Now,
like
in a way, it kind of is those, but
It
not what you would
is.
expect.
yeah.
Like
It
the aspects of those
is.
movies that you wouldn't, or those things that you wouldn't expect.
Yeah.
Yeah, like
So I don't want to get.
I know.
That's an spoilers.
We
All right,
clearly
Chris,
want to talk about
score.
it.
Just
Oh, right. Score. So I was literally, before you even said anything, I was going to say 79.
okay.
But it's too fucking
close?
close to what you said.
Right.
I'll say, I mean, it doesn't really matter.
No.
Really, I'm going to be in the middle anyways because
Right.
I think it's mid 70s.
Okay.
Because you said 60s, you said
She
80.
said 65. I said 80.
So
70.
75
Yeah,
is
75.
fine for me. I was going to say 79. That just felt like the right number for me.
And we don't really have to dig into this as far as individual scores, but as far as Criticless, y'all think this is going to be higher, lower? Where do you think our audience is going to sit? I personally think higher. I think that this
Higher.
is going to be. I don't know if this will be a most excellent movie, but I think at the very least it will be an upper
Rad.
rad from our
Upper
audience.
rad.
Upper rad.
What's upper rad?
It would be like a 79.
70, 78, 79, like,
Okay.
because it turns into most excellent 80. I think it's a rad easily for like the average person.
Because when you think about that too, it's like it'll probably be we're guessing that it's probably going to be a mostly even split between rads and most excellence, probably.
Yeah.
If for it to hang in that range.
Right. I mean, I would definitely say that it's going to be like over under 50, like 100% it's going to be over 50.
Right.
For sure for me.
So over a decent. Or maybe in a decent.
I can see you doing a decent.
I don't know. It's so polarizing for me. Like we can get into
we'll
this
get
more.
Into that.
We're not at that point right now, but this is a polarizing thing. It's hard for me to say, but I would definitely say it's over 50% across the board, regardless of how you enjoy this
think
movie.
That it's going to be a more positive reception than negative.
If anybody puts this below 50%, I would be surprised.
Right.
Oh, they're going to downvote.
Well,
for sure.
Yeah, 100%.
Right.
We're on board. We're the downvoters.
Downvoters.
I'm Norwegian. It's fine. The crew.
Yeah. Okay. So then we'll go ahead and dig into it. I want to get into our spoiler-free review. This will be fairly brief, but just to give you guys an idea of what you're getting into and whether or not you might be interested in it. Honestly, we've tiptoed around that territory already, kind of giving you an idea of what you're getting into, or at least what our expectations were. And I personally, which we are kind of unanimous in our like anti-trailer group as far as just not watching trailers.
Yeah.
And I say that this movie is another one of those that still benefits from not really seeing the trailer. And I mean, personally, because it could change even your expectations as far as what you're going in to get. Now, man, there are a lot of things we kind of got to dig into because this was not what I was expecting. But I think the biggest shock for me is that Jodie Comer, her character was a lot more of a focus in this film. Very much the central focus of this film, and I was not expecting that, especially from the way that this movie was advertised.
Yeah.
Now, I think she's an excellent actress. I watched her in Killing Eve until Killing Eve started sucking, but
she was a total baddie in Killing Eve.
She was excellent in that show, and I think she's excellent in this. So, Now, Zena, I want to go ahead and pivot over to you and just get your very
Are we in spoilers right now?
No, this is spoiler free. I just want to know your thoughts. Where you sit with this movie and how you would rate it on Criticless. Just very airplane level, like.
Okay, I'm doing 85%.
Okay,
most excellent.
Yeah,
like I really liked it.
Awesome.
But I will say I love documentaries. I love like crime and drama and stuff like that. And also I come from a huge motorcycle family.
Right.
So a lot of this background, it's like generations in my family. And so I feel like I related to it a lot more, not like the MC side of it, but just
still,
like
if you're in that world, you still know it. Like
and so it's like I had more like skin in the game, I guess you would say, and to watch this movie. So I think I'm just gonna enjoy it more than probably like the average person would.
And so you think most people from that audience, if you were into the bike scene, and even maybe like you said, even if it's not the MC scene, like the motorcycle club scene, you would still probably recommend this to those people for sure.
Yeah, I think so, because I think it like portrays their feeling that you get riding a bike so well. I mean, there's like, without spoiling, I don't think it's a spoiler, it's really early on in the movie, but like when Austin Butler takes off from the cops, and that like really awesome, like it's not quite the opening, but early scene, and hair's flowing in the wind, you hear the cop sirens like fading. There's just something so free about that, and I think that's really what riding a motorcycle comes down to, is that freedom.
Absolutely.
And I think that is portrayed extremely well in this.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah, I think so too. So you said you'd personally put it, most excellent 80 some odd range.
85.
85.
Yeah.
Cool. So I guess I'll go ahead and go, Chris. You good with that, or would you like to go? You're giving me a weird look. I mean,
I don't know. You just said that. I guess I'll go ahead and go, and then you said Chris.
You had a look on your face,
I always have a look.
I mean, that is true.
Stupid.
Stupid or guilty. I mean, it's one of the two. Maybe both in tandem.
Yeah,
he always looks a little guilty. I mean,
kind of. I don't know why.
He's a little sus.
All right, we're not teenagers. We're not going to say sussy over.
Are you sussing and bussing, buddy?
I got a bussy.
Bussy?
Is that the same thing?
You bussing? Is that the same as a moose knuckle?
Yeah,
Yeah.
it awkwardly is.
Do you know what a moose knuckle is?
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Of
I was
course
like,
she
oh,
does. She's
Yeah,
married to
she's the
Matt.
master of the moose knuckle, being around Matt.
Yeah.
Boy.
Yeah. My brother is the biggest moose.
Just bussing.
Yeah.
All right. So my thoughts on this movie, not bussies. So I also really like this. I actually like this a lot. I was trying to decide where I would rank it as I was like watching it and it was going on, and I was like, man, this isn't what I thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
But I think I'm on board with this. It's billed as a crime drama, which it is. But I think that the front half, it's kind of almost a tale of two movies. The first half, because of who and how this movie focuses, whereas Jodie Comer's character is kind of halfway telling this story throughout the movie. It's like her by way of the documentarian.
Yep.
And it's them telling it, and she is throughout it. But I think the first half of the movie is more of Austin Butler's story, and the last half of the movie is more of Tom Hardy's character's story.
Johnny.
Yes, Johnny. And so it's kind of split into that, and it very much, the first half feels very different from the back half. And I don't want to say too much, but it kind of has two different tones as well.
Yeah.
But it's not stark. Like, it's not like there's a line like this. It's a gradual thing that happens.
Sure.
But it does have two different vibes. But I think by the end, I was sitting there, I was like you said, if you view this almost through more of like a documentarian's perspective, it's like, and as a documentary, I really like it. And I think I will be on that lower most excellent range, but I think I'll still be somewhere at like an 80 or a little above. I don't think I'm in rad territory. I do like this movie. I think it's very well made. There's a lot of cool actors. There's people that show up. It is almost a little hard for some of the people that are in this not to see the people that they are playing.
Sure.
Even with Tom Hardy, honestly, like, because Tom Hardy's accent in this is just wild.
It's Eddie from Venom.
It kind of is.
I'm just like, I love when he does that goofy, high pitched accent.
Yeah.
It's very
something.
specific.
I love it. I don't know. It's so Tom Hardy though.
Right.
Like, it's becoming Tom Hardy.
It is kind of becoming a style of his. And then, you've got Austin Butler just in full smolder the whole movie, just smoldering his ass off.
Ladies.
Yeah.
or guys. If anybody
hey,
Austin
I
Butler,
was fucking wet like within the first.
That's why I'm like, sorry,
5 minutes.
let me change my tone.
Yeah.
Literally, if you are into Austin Butler, this is the freaking movie for you, because he is hot as fuck in this. Like,
he's getting it.
The freaking
sure.
muscles.
Now, I mean, there are some people that are typically known for being more attractive that in this movie are not that. And I don't want to call attention yet to those two specific people that are known, that have certain audiences that think that they are hot. We will get into that, but they are not hot in this movie. One of which is borderline unrecognizable. So
true.
But we'll get into it in spoilers, so hang around for that, I guess, if you want that spoiled. But there is some interesting character work going on in this movie. We'll just put it that way, and people playing a little outside of their normal, how they would be. Like, one of the people, I don't know if y'all would have even recognized or known, that I was like, I think that's who that is, and then it turned out to be that when I started looking. So, anyways, I guess, Chris, what was your opinion of this movie? I'm really curious.
Okay, so. Just to be upfront, I wasn't super excited about this movie in general.
Right.
Like, it's not a environment that I'm super into. I don't care about it at all.
Right.
I actually can have some like negative connotations toward it.
Bikers.
Yeah, in general.
Interesting.
I have familiar, like in the family region.
Right.
Like, that's what I mean by familiar. Not just familiar, like I'm used
I've
to
been very familiar with
familiar as in like in my family. I have a member that is a part of a very hardcore MC.
Yeah.
And a lot that goes into that, which doesn't affect me in a lot of ways, is more so than
right.
I don't know. Anyways, but it was also very deceiving the way that the trailer perceived it, which I actually enjoy. Like, I like
surprised.
Yeah, I enjoy that there was like subterfuge involved. Like,
right.
The trailer made this seem like it was going to be super edgy, hardcore. This was going to be like action packed, badasses all the time.
Yeah.
But it really just turned out to be like The Office with motorcycles. where
The Office?
The Office, where
the TV show The Office?
Yeah.
Oh, do you just mean like the fly on the wall perspective?
Because it's literally like the perspective of a documentary.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I was like,
was this hilarious?
Now, what I will say, I laughed way more in this movie than that. We laughed a lot.
That's a good bit.
Until about that halfway mark or a little bit past it. Like,
Yeah.
this is actually an extraordinarily funny movie for the first half.
Yeah.
For what it is, like, you wouldn't expect it. And it's not probably intentional, but like there's a lot of humor involved with it. But that's not even really what I mean by that. It's just the fact that it is from the perspective of a documentary.
Yes.
And that was not expected at all. Like the trailer made this seem like it was going to be hard ass motherfuckers, just gang violence, beating people up all the time. So it was very surprising and not what I expected at all. So it took me off guard. But I would. This is not my movie. It's not for me. This was not made for me. I don't enjoy this environment, which I can get more involved with later on. But I would put this at a 73.
Whoa, really?
Sure, yeah, because I mean it was well made, well done. But
I thought you were for sure decent.
What is that?
That would be closer to like the 50 range
like
or a
50,
little higher.
60.
Oh no.
Yeah.
No, it's really not that. It's not that
sweet.
It's not bad. Like
Because
there's
it's still
nothing
a well-made
bad
movie.
about this
Yeah.
movie.
Okay,
It's just not for me. Like,
Right.
and I can respect movies that are well done, but just I'm not the target audience. Like, so I respect that. I understand it. I'm never gonna watch it again, ever.
Dude, I'm totally gonna watch it like every night before I go to sleep.
Yeah.
Well, for that one scene.
I'm just gonna
Zena, be
bring
honest
fun.
about why you're gonna watch this every night before you go to sleep. A little nightcap, you know.
What's going on?
God damn it.
Yep.
Okay. Well, we need to get it.
Okay, we
But
need
yeah,
to end
it's
the
in
spoiler
the
for your
low
review.
70s for me. Like, I know it's well done. I appreciate it for what it is, and like there was nothing negative necessarily about it that stuck out to me. It's just not something that's interesting to me. So it's like you can watch a documentary about glass blowing and it'd be really well done and great cast, great writing, but I just don't care about glass blowing. It's the same thing. It was
the
just
subject matter's just not there.
Yeah, and
whereas for Xena and I, it is like, and I ride motorcycles, like not these kind of motorcycles, but I haven't recently, but which I've got a dual sport. So, but I rode with my dad had a cruiser and my brother-in-law rode street bikes. And so, I mean, I've been on motorcycles a lot. And I mean, there is something about being on a bike. And I mean, I ride dirt bikes every other day at home. And so it's like, there is something about being on a motorcycle. You either like that world, you like being on one. Like, that's why I've been hanging on to my freaking dual sport. And my wife hates me for it and asks me every day when I'm selling it because it sits in the garage most of the time. But the problem is, it's because every time I get on it and I just take off and I just go, it is one of the most freeing, liberating feelings, even over riding the dirt bike. There is something about riding it and about that life, and even about, I understand that culture where it's like when me and my brother-in-law and our friends and my dad and all of us would just get together and we'd go ride, and we would just, you don't know where you're going. You just ride.
You're just
cruising
for the venture. Oh,
right.
Like,
Now, granted, I was on a dual sport, so they would stop at a stoplight and I would just cut through a field, just be like, fuck you. and then laugh at them, you know, but like that was the thrill of having a not cruiser. But I mean, I don't know. Yeah, there's something about that life, that world, and this does capture that. But it also, I think, doesn't over glorify this lifestyle or this world, and it shows the problems and stuff too. Similar to how Sons of Anarchy did, and I watched every single episode of that, never missed a single one. I love that show, and this does capture some of that too, but in a different way.
Yeah, I feel like Sons of Anarchy, it definitely glorified that
It definitely did.
lifestyle, and also, as is mentioned in the movie, and we talk about it more like in the spoilery review, but like it has changed. Like MCs are totally different.
And it
even
does get into
from
that.
like our childhood, MCs were really rough, and now it's almost to the point where they're not
what they
like
were
that anymore.
They're not what they were, which
yeah.
around here it's a lot more of, so like we didn't talk about the specific gang, but this was the Vandals, and they were more of, you know, the club. But around here it was a lot of Hell's Angels, like that's who you
Southern
normally heard.
Gentlemen.
Yeah, and Southern Gentlemen. Like there were several that you'll hear about, but like around this part of the country. And we have family that dealt with Hell's Angels and would deal with problems with Hell's Angels that they, would get involved if there was issues and stuff with my in-laws and certain things. So, we've been around this world and these types of people too. So it is interesting if you've ever been around this type of stuff for sure. But I definitely get where Chris is coming from, where if you've been around it, you also know
You want to stay away,
yeah,
most
you
likely.
typically want to keep your distance. And this movie gets
Mhm.
into a lot of the ins and outs of that, which is very cool. So I would say we go ahead and get into the nitty-gritty of it, but I think I would recommend seeing this. I think the thing that I would compare to, granted, I have not seen it, but something that's come out recently that it sounds like hangs in the same realm is that movie The Iron Claw that a lot of people are reviewing and seeing. It sounds like this is kind of in the world of that type of a film, which that one was about wrestling, this one's about motorcycles, but it is more of that grounded real life story, but the nitty gritty of that world.
I can see that.
So,
Yeah.
but granted, like I said, I have not seen the Iron Claw, but from the reviews and stuff that I've read, it sounds like this hangs with that. But think substantially less depressing from what I've heard than the Iron Claw. So take that for what you will from someone who's never seen it. So, which I do want to see. Even with the cast too, where it's like that movie has a stacked cast, and it's just, it feels like there's some correlations here. So, all right, well, it's spoilers all the way down from here, guys. So bail out if you do not want the Bikeriders spoiled for you. Let's do it. All right, so spoilers. Is there any main spoilers that y'all really just want to get out of the way? I mean, obviously, is it casting and people that are in this?
Yes, Michael fucking Shannon.
Yes, Michael Shannon.
Yeah.
He
like,
was so fun.
so
in
good,
this.
which now makes perfect sense considering Midnight Special.
Yes,
And this
yeah.
guy has actually done another Michael Shannon movie as well. So clearly they're homies. Like, it makes sense that he's in this. And he wasn't front and center, but he's in it.
Dude, I
great.
think he
I
had a
love
lot of fun with this role though.
Oh, yeah.
Like he clearly was
His
just
character was goofy.
yeah, living for this role. And
Mhm.
I was trying to think the whole time we're watching the movie. There's another character that he has as a big character like that where he's
Mhm.
also goofy and I can't remember what it is.
Well, I don't think y'all have seen it, but he did a Seth Rogen Christmas movie where he plays a long-haired person like this but
Oh
he's
my
like kind of a
God.
bum.
Yeah.
And it's a similar kind of just a goobery like dude.
Yeah. So I think I'm just like, are you really like that, Michael Shannon? Like
Right.
I
He
want to
probably
know.
He likes embracing it either way.
Yeah.
Now, the one that surprised me the most that I totally forgot, or I don't even know that I knew that he was in it, was Norman Reedus.
Yeah.
Norman Reedus is freaking wild in this movie, and
Dude,
his
I'm
teeth
not
are about to fall out.
surprised.
No,
I'm not surprised he's in it.
of course he's in this. Like, duh.
Right.
I mean, he's obsessed with motorcycles. He had a motorcycle TV show. His character in Walking Dead, motorcycle guy, like he's that guy. So it makes sense.
I'm surprised Jason Momoa wasn't in this.
Right.
Just like as a big character on the side, because I feel like it's something that he would just be like, yeah,
Yeah.
Right.
I want
Would
to
just
do
want to be in
this.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
It is kind of surprising, but he obviously, he's a perfect cast. Casting was perfect for this. Now, the other person that I wanted to mention that I was talking about as far as kind of unrecognizable, his teeth are all jacked up. And it's interesting that all the California characters' teeth were about to fall out of their head. I don't know what it was about California in that time period, but I guess it's just the drugs. But which they do actually talk about in the movie. They mention how California, it was changing at the time. And the people
Mhm.
coming from California were different. And so, but the person I was going to bring up is Boyd Holbrook. And he was the mechanic.
Okay. The
So
guy that like built his own
yes, he
bike
built his own
and
bike.
was like
No,
judging.
well, he's not. No, he wasn't really a
He was
kid.
20.
The California guy. No, he wasn't 20.
Oh.
No,
He
no, no.
was the one that said that was being threatened by Norman Reedus. He was
Yes.
like, I came here because you bailed out
Oh,
your
yeah.
you're wearing different
Yeah.
colors. It was that guy.
So
Yeah.
he's normally known as kind of one of these also fairly attractive,
Sure.
good-looking dudes.
Well, he
Whatever.
looks like Austin Butler.
He does look a
He
lot like
does.
Austin
Like
Butler.
he's just like an older Austin Butler.
He
Yeah.
is. He is similar vibe. And seeing him in this, I was like, I think that's who it is. But his teeth were all
Mhm.
jacked up, and I like couldn't quite recognize him. And so it's definitely who it was. And he is a very good actor. I like him a lot. And so it wasn't after the movie gets rolling, I was like, that's definitely who it is, and saw him in the end credits. So he was kind of fairly unrecognizable to me in this movie. Now, I don't know if either of y'all have seen him in much before, and he was in the Sandman TV show. He's the blonde-headed guy, and
Yeah, I just looked up. I've definitely seen him in a ton of stuff. Like he's
right,
in
Yeah.
all
he's been
kinds
around
of
for a
stuff.
while.
I think he just has a very like generic face. I don't know what it is about him and like versus Austin Butler. Like Austin
Right.
Butler is more distinct looking,
Mhm.
even though they have very
Very similar.
similar faces
Right.
and hair.
Yeah,
Like
I think
especially in this, it's like the same damn hair.
I think a lot of it is about the specific look he has. Like, he actually got his start from Narcos back when that was on. And so I don't know. He's a good actor though. But anyways, he was the main one I was going to bring up as far as a little bit of spoilery. But there's a lot of people that I recognize, like this guy, the character that died, Brucey, who's in the
Yeah.
film.
Yeah.
He's been in a bunch of stuff forever, and that whole bit was very sad. But I recognize him. He was a big Justified character. And there are just a lot of character actors and things that pop up in this. Where
That
you're like,
big ginger.
yeah,
yeah.
exactly.
Who was he? Because he, like, I was like, oh, he looks so familiar to
Right.
me.
Really did.
He's done a
Yeah.
lot of. He's been in a lot of TV shows and just things over the years. But he's one of those that you've probably just seen pop up as a bit
Like in
character in
everything.
something.
Yeah.
So yeah, there are a lot of those type of people, which he actually looks like another actor as well, who I can't think of the name of. But so as far as this movie goes and the kind of the structure of it, now that y'all know what it is, and now that we can get more into spoilers, were you happy with it now, as far as like the pacing and it being more upbeat in the beginning and kind of dragging down a little bit, but ending on this higher note? Because it does, which I was happy with, because I was expecting this to just go out on a freaking downer. Like I thought it was going to be Austin Butler's dead, like
Oh
Jodie
yeah.
Comer's
Everyone's
single,
dead.
like,
Yeah.
and that's not the movie we got.
No, yeah, I was like pleasantly surprised that's not what it was. The reason why it's not higher, because it very easily could have been like a 90% for me,
Right.
is because like halfway through that midpoint, I was just like, Jesus Christ, like this
Yeah.
movie is so long. Like it just felt like it was
Right?
dragging. And I'm like, why is it
It's not
dragging
even
so
two.
much?
It's not even 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
not, but it felt like it was 3 hours
Which is,
sitting
I
there.
think, a pacing issue.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
like there's something in there with the pacing that's a little off, and I felt it too.
Yeah.
I think it's just the structure of this kind of movie, because I kind of
Mhm.
feel that way with documentaries as well, where it's this storytelling aspect, and sometimes you're getting pulled out of the story to be told the story, and I think sometimes that can drag a film down, and I think it does a little bit, but not so bad that it terribly hurts the movie. But
Yeah.
there are still some pacing issues.
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. And it, like, while I was thinking that, I was like, but it's not like we need all that information.
Right.
Like, we needed
Sure.
everything that happened. I wouldn't have edited anything out to make it any shorter.
Right.
So I'm like,
Unless
I
you
don't
just
know.
cut out some of Jodie
Yeah.
Comer telling the story. Like,
Yeah,
but
but
also
I
that's kind of a
love
real
that.
world thing.
Yeah.
And she's so good.
She's so
God
freaking
dang, she's good.
Yeah.
We laughed at her a lot.
Yes, her character is magnificent.
Yeah.
Now, honestly, I wish that Austin Butler's character had a little bit more depth. I don't know if you guys felt that way. He was a little one note as far as just he's very broody, but maybe that's just how this guy was. He wasn't very wordy. He wasn't a
Right.
lot to him. He's just a focal point in this woman's life, which is why he's a focal point in this film.
Yeah, well, and it wasn't just in her life, right? It was
Right.
also in Johnny's life. Like
Right.
he is the focal point. He's kind of like the guy that everybody wants to be,
Mm-hmm.
or at least within this group.
Right.
And it's the two main characters of the wife
Right.
and Johnny, want to be around him and close to him, and want his attention
Right.
and his love. So
But no one gets it.
right, but it's also very fitting for that person, that has that personality of being very distant and nonchalant and not caring about anything. Like that's why Johnny was attracted to him. Obviously not in a sexual way.
Right. Right.
Yeah,
Well,
right.
maybe not obvious.
They were real
There
close.
was-
That was really interesting. Which I do appreciate in a modern film like this, that it is this, brotherly companionship, whatever. And we
Yeah.
are so used to everything modern just being like, all right, when are they gonna kiss? Because like everything
Mhm.
nowadays is like, oh, two guys that are homies, they're gonna make out. Like, and then Zena said it at one point in the movie, and she's like, I'm just waiting for him to kiss.
Yeah.
I mean, I
But like
really
it's because she really wanted it.
them
Yeah.
to kiss.
Yeah.
It was like it could have been so hot.
Right.
But
You're like, these two men on screen at the same time looking
Yes.
this sexy.
and they
in
were
their leathers.
they
Yeah.
were super close together. It was
Oh, yeah.
intimate,
So
talking
close.
about like a passionate thing.
Right.
So it was very sexual. Don't get me wrong. Very sexual.
The
in
tension was
general.
there.
Right,
Oh,
right.
yeah, for sure.
Oh yeah, this
Um,
is gonna be like the leather daddy, like gay dude movie to go to. Like this is
yeah.
this is the one you go to.
On a serious note, I do like appreciate that they showed this close of a relationship, like that men
Yeah.
have, where it's not a lot of talking.
Right.
It is
These are
like
stoic
it's
men.
a mutual respect kind of thing, and they say like for Austin Butler, like they tell him, people want to be you,
Right.
you know?
Right.
So I just thought that was like a good way to see that
Yeah.
portrayed.
Yeah, and it was it, it, I mean, obviously, I feel like that was a large focus of the movie was just how the environment changed, the relationship
Right.
changed throughout the movie. So
Yeah.
it started off as these were all just regular
We're just
dudes, like
homies.
guy
Mhm.
who
And they
was
were
a
actually like kind
trucker.
of outcasts.
Yeah,
Yeah, they didn't have anybody else.
right. And so this was just a trucker's dream of wanting to be involved with something more than just watching TV, right? So he
Right.
got the inspiration from
Dude,
something
I
else. I
love
can't
that.
remember
He
what
was
it.
watching a
Yeah.
movie. Yeah, he was
Right.
watching a classic film where there was a biker gang in
Yeah.
like the 20s or something,
Mhm.
And
Right.
he's literally to the point of they show him watching the TV screen and he's like saying the lines back
Yeah.
to the TV. And
Yeah.
the wife's like, "What did you say?"
Huh?
And he's like, this guy just thought that it was so cool. He's like, "I'm gonna model my life after this."
Yeah.
And then but the problem was that he became it. And that
Right.
was, I think, one of the coolest things about this film is the depth that they give us into the evolution of the biker gang and like the quintessential biker gang,
Right.
where it's like it started out by just admiration of a film, where it's like, oh, I think that this is cool. And you see people do this all the time, not just in, with bikers or whatever, where it's like, oh, I see, get this idea from some type of art and it becomes my personality.
Mhm.
And that happens to people all the time.
Yeah.
And what's crazy is that this is real life. This really happened. And this actual real life biker gang was based off of just an admiration for something that someone saw in a film. And that is wild.
Yeah.
I loved that.
Yeah.
I really did. I thought it was really cool that they showed that.
I kept thinking about it throughout the whole movie.
Yeah, well, and it really added like background to the way that he acted and like what he thought he should be
Hmm.
and what he needed to represent. And the whole time he's just a regular dude with a regular
Right.
job
Like,
with a family and kids,
Yeah.
right. Who bit off more than they could chew.
Yes.
Yeah, and it was and they it was not a subtle allusion to his admiration for Billy, who is
There's Johnny and
Benny.
Benny. Benny
Benny.
is the
Sorry,
cool
Benny.
guy.
Yeah,
Yes.
for his admiration. That's who he wanted to be. That was
Right.
he
Right.
admired him,
Even though he was
and
running the gang, he's like, I
right,
want to be this dude.
yeah, he respected him because that's who he and what he wanted to portray as himself.
But he couldn't as a family man, really.
Right.
Like,
So it's a very for me it's super relatable. Like I can put myself in that position often of
right.
just like wanting to be like somebody,
Right.
but I know that's not who I am as a person.
Right.
And
Mhm.
you can see that throughout the movie
Hmm.
where Johnny like is continually having to push his boundaries for what's acceptable
Right.
because of the pressure that's put on him from the club
Yep.
and trying to meet his own expectations for what he should be based off of Benny.
Right.
So it's like, we're going to have to go to this good guy's house who I love. He's been in there from the beginning.
Right.
He's going to become a cop and he's giving up his colors, but I have to shoot him to
Right.
pretend
Because
that
that's the
he's
new expectation.
yeah, because that's
Yeah.
what everybody expects him to be. And he gives into it so easily.
Right.
And that's not a slight to the movie. Like
Right.
it's actually like it's a benefit or it's
It's a
a
quality
good thing.
representation to just show accurately what happened.
Right. It's an accurate representation of what people do in those situations of
Right.
where they bend so easily
Mhm.
under pressure because like you just go up to some random trucker who created a bike club for racing
Right.
and just to hang out, and then all of a sudden he's shooting somebody in his own home so that he doesn't get killed. It's just like
To like keep his own cred for the club that he runs.
right,
Yeah.
It
like
shows how much compromising your values and compromising who and what you are supposed to be to meet certain expectations. It's a perfect representation of what can happen to you once
Mhm.
you start the compromise. And the thing is that this one man's compromise changed the future and trajectory of like biker gangs for the entire United States.
right,
Yeah, because like his gang created so many other MCs
Right.
that wanted to be like him. And like, why wouldn't you? Why
Yeah.
wouldn't you want to be
Right.
like him when he started? You're just hanging out, like you're
Mhm.
just hanging out with your buddies, racing, riding around, looking cool as fuck. And
Yeah.
then it just goes haywire.
Right.
Right. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it is a really wild perspective, and to see this play out, and I think that's what I loved about it the most. And at first I wasn't really sure what the movie was about or who the movie was about, but it really is about the club and all of it, all of these people. And at first I was like, I don't know how I feel about like all of these people not quite getting the shine that they should, or how Austin Butler's character was kind of portrayed. But then as the movie went on more and more, I was like, no, I actually think I'm okay with this. I think I just was placing my own expectations on this story and what they were trying to tell. And if I pull back on that and I just analyze it for what they are wanting to tell me, my opinion of this is going to change. And it kind of did, because there
Mhm.
was like a point where, if this was a typical film, it's like, well, at one point I was like, man, I feel like we need more of like this relationship between, Kathy and Benny, the two,
Ugh, I
the
thought that too some.
but
Yeah.
then, as it goes on, I'm like, but you know what? It sounds like Jodie Comer's character didn't have much of a relationship, even though they were married and they loved each other in those
Right.
early years. Like they didn't, because Benny was so inaccessible. Like there
Mhm.
wasn't much to tell there because he wasn't around.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But what is there to tell? And
Yeah.
also, that isn't really the focal point of this. You're used to in a normal film being like, oh, well, I want the romance bits. I want to see, why they really love each other and whatever. But as Chris pointed out, it's like this dude was unattainable. Like that is what they
Yeah.
are portraying here, is that like Johnny only kind of got a certain perspective of him. Kathy only got a perspective of him. And he was really just kind of this immortalized figure of the badass biker. But then in the end, he really even still abandons it because he sees where it's going.
Right.
At the moment when they have to go shoot the guy, he's like, oh, okay, like this has
This
gone
is
south.
it. This
Yeah.
is where we are now, is what he
Yeah,
says.
yeah,
Yeah.
this is
Yeah.
what we are now, and I'm not gonna ever be that.
Right.
Mhm.
To the point in which he just disappears. He
Yeah.
vanishes, which was clearly the smart move for him.
Yeah.
Which I was not expecting.
Yeah.
I know, like,
Mhm.
Kathy kept saying, "Oh, he always says he's gonna leave,"
Mhm.
and I think it's just him begging wanting me to beg for him to stay,
Mhm.
and I didn't think he would actually leave, and I mean, I was Kathy in that situation. I
Right.
literally never expected him to leave, and then he just
He
fucking
just
dipped
does.
out,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it's
And
wild.
which you do see the death coming, uh, of Johnny's character
Yeah.
at that moment after he's left, where, he comes to the house and it's so sad because you know what's coming.
Yeah.
Right.
You're like,
Well, and
oh
the
shit,
wife, his wife is saying,
dude,
"Just will you pick up some eggs?" And
and
she
not even paying
won't
me
look.
attention.
She won't look away from the TV, and it's like
Yeah.
I just wanted to shake her and be like, "Look at your husband."
Right.
Right.
This dude is
But it's like,
older.
how
He's
many
about to.
times do you do that, like in a marriage? When
Right.
you see each other every day for like I
Right.
don't know, they've probably been together like 20, 30 years at that point.
Right.
Right.
And so they're just like, "Yeah, go pick up some eggs. See you later," and that was it. And it was just like heartbreaking.
It
Yeah.
was, because you see it coming.
Yeah,
You
you
know,
do.
Right.
what's gonna happen, and
Yeah.
it still hits hard.
Oh God, because it's not what you expect at all either. I
No,
thought it was gonna be like a
I knew the
awful
second
knife
that they
fight,
showed
and
that
Right.
little shit for the first time when he was stealing
I
hubcaps,
did
Yeah.
I was
too.
like, "This guy's gonna be bad news.
Yeah.
He's clearly they're not focusing on this for no reason."
Right.
And
Mhm.
sure enough, he's who freaking sent everything sideways.
Yeah.
Which it was going that way because, Johnny did the wrong thing clearly by letting a lot of the wrong people into this gang. But also, once you start creating all these other chapters, like how much control do you have?
Yeah.
Like it's going to spiral out of control, and that's kind of the
Right.
point too that they get at.
Yeah.
And clearly, it showed where they were like, we let in all these guys that were ex-military from Vietnam. They came in, they had actually, Xena, it was when you went to the bathroom, I think, but they were like, what he said was, he was like, they dealt with all this, they brought all this addiction with them. And he was like, they brought all this from
Oh.
Vietnam, and we showed a guy shooting up, and like they were all kind of unhinged and out of control, and all these ex,
Mhm.
Vietnam guys,
Yeah.
and they're really what it seemed like initially kicked off the spiral, is bringing all
Yeah.
these guys in.
Right.
Well, and there's like a really like poignant scene with Michael Shannon where he's
Mm.
drunk and
Yeah.
he's emotional and he's
I
like,
think
I
that's where you were
wanted,
gone.
yeah.
Okay,
And he was like, I wanted to go to Vietnam. Like, I
right.
wanted to be in the military. I
Mhm.
wanted to do this stuff. And he was like, all these pinkos
Mm-hmm.
didn't want it, like, were ripping up their draft cards, and he was like, "But here I am, and I can't even get in because they think I'm a loser.
Yeah.
I'm an
Right.
undesirable," is
Yeah,
what he
they
said.
literally what he said is he went
Yeah.
through all of the tests and he passed all of the tests, succeeded everything, and they denied him because he was an undesirable is what they had
Jeez.
said. So like
That's wild.
it was a very like emotional part of
It
the movie
was.
of
Yeah, I
just
hate I
like
missed that.
his character like just exposing himself, revealing like his whole backstory really of just like I was rejected from something that I wanted just because of the way that I was portrayed, like
Right.
who I
So we
was
found a
as a
different
person.
club.
Right. Yeah, exactly. So,
Yeah.
and like, so for me, this movie, I don't enjoy the culture behind this
Right.
of just it's more so the gang related. So like
Right.
we tossed around the idea or the term of gang a lot here.
Right.
Where initially how this was started off, it was not. It was
This
a
is a club.
club, right?
Yeah.
So like it turned into a gang after Johnny died. So
Right.
my
Slightly
argue
before.
I would
It
argue
was
it was
it
before.
was morphing into a
Yeah.
it started around
well,
when they brought in the
sure.
vets, honestly. Or the I say vets, whatever. The ex-military
drug guy.
guys, and then it sounded like there were some California people potentially that came in during that as well. And
Mhm.
it was like these other people that were
Yeah,
clearly should have not been let into the club.
right,
Mhm.
And at that point, not long before Johnny died.
right. And but I don't know. I've always despised that culture for me of just like the mentality of being a badass for clout's sake. I don't know. It's
Mhm.
just
Right.
like the epitome of that is the young 20-year-old dude that wants to join. Like the
Right.
guy, excuse me, who kills Johnny. He's like he is the peak, just like
Just
that
asshole.
that person
Yeah.
of that mentality that I think of
Just
in that
seeking value
culture
and
of
control. Yeah.
right,
Like
but
they want value, but they also want to control something. They want to be in charge.
Well,
They
I
want
feel like we all know
Oh
someone
yeah.
that's like that. That
yeah,
just like is scary because I don't even know what makes them scary. It's
They're
like,
volatile.
they'll
yeah,
do anything
yeah. I
Right.
think
to
it's
get
for
what they
that
want.
power.
Well, and
Yeah.
that's what he said initially. He was literally like, that was the thing is that they weren't into killing people and doing all this crazy stuff. And he literally tells him, he's like, look, you need somebody we need to kill. Like, we'll kill him if that's how we get into the club. If
Right.
you need this done, we'll do it. Like, he didn't care. This kid was a freaking criminal through and through.
Yeah.
And the thing is, it's like they showed like he had a terrible home life and, things weren't good and he was not well
Right.
off and whatever. And that's kind of what I like that they gave us that little tidbit to show his background. But at the same time,
Sure.
it's just like, this is how that happens. This is
Right.
how these people are created, and this
Mhm.
is what happens when you let them into an authority role in a scenario like this, where it's like I saw this when all of the other gang members that were Johnny's like buddies. When they
Yeah.
witnessed him shoot him, they all just sat there and were subservient. It's like I was thinking, like they're in a car. I was like, I would run his ass over. I
Right.
would drive that dude into the
Well,
ground.
it was the fact that they were all in their cars.
Hmm.
Like
Yeah.
it just screamed disrespect to me.
Hmm.
Like I was furious. I was furious
Right.
in that moment because I was like, how dare you sit in your car and
Right.
try and get warm
Right.
when you're like leader
Right.
who's had your back, taken care of you, paid your bills,
Right.
like
Is
got you
going to a
out of
freaking knife
trouble,
fight.
is going to a knife fight and clearly thinks he's gonna die. Like
Right.
regardless of what happened, he
Hmm.
clearly thought he was gonna die. And you guys sat in your freaking cars
Right.
and were worried about how cold it was. Fuck you guys. I was
Well,
pissed.
That is so that is a great perspective. Like that is it's the complete opposite contrast of what I was thinking, but it's still valid. Like it's valid 100% because what I'm thinking is like as far as the story goes is like yeah, these are just regular ass dudes. They're not hard ass criminals. They're just people that want to be a part of a bike club.
right.
Like they just like motorcycles. So they're just there to hang out with their
Right. They're
friends.
like, I'm not trying to die.
So
I'm not
yeah,
trying to commit
it's
a
not like
crime.
they're
Like,
badasses. They're
But
just
they
wanting to hang out.
well,
They are, but they also have fought for him already.
Right.
True.
And
Yeah.
So that's my thing is like it because at parts this movie is like Fight Club. Like
right.
you have
Right.
like where it's like you see the testosterone that just needs to work its way out and
Right.
Right.
like
Yeah.
Well,
go
and that
on
is the thing
and
with these types of clubs, and I think that that's really what that showed was it's like these guys had realized they're the old school guys, and they realize like it has boiled over. Like
Mhm.
we are in too deep, and they're like, shit, I don't want to die. Like, and
Yeah.
also it showed, like you said, them being in their cars and stuff. They had kind of checked out. They're like, this has gone a little too sideways. Like it's winter. I'm not riding.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to do the gang thing. I'm just trying to hang out with my bros. This has gone a little sideways, but like also I'm not going any deeper than this.
Yeah. And
The worst part is they stayed
Right.
though.
Well, because they're freaking cowards,
right.
right? Like they're
Yeah.
like it's because they were at that point, they're not gonna pass in their stripes or whatever their colors. Like
Yeah.
they're not gonna leave
Yeah.
because they're gonna be like, oh, they're just gonna kill us.
So if you think about the first time that they have somebody challenge him,
Right.
it was super cordial, very like
Mhm.
night. There's a lot of things involved. It was like, oh, fists or knives is what he asked the
Right.
other
Yeah.
guy,
Right.
right? So the guy's like, well, I don't want to kill you in the first one. He's like, I don't want to
Yes.
kill
We're,
you.
we're friends.
So we'll just do fists. So there's that mentality or expectation that they have for these kind of things of just like, oh, this is just like a
Right.
posturing
It's an
thing. It's
initiation.
not like there's no risk here. Like nobody's gonna die or get severely hurt. It's just a posturing thing. We're gonna like, whoever is comes out on top, whoever's the
Yeah.
most skillful.
We're gonna
So
go through the motions.
right. So I feel like they even not. I don't know. I don't think there's anything wrong with them sitting in there. I can understand your perspective of like feeling
Like they should back him.
right, like
Yeah.
they were doing something negative by sending in their cars, which they did kind of point that out in the movie of
Oh, they
like
did.
nobody rode their bikes there. They all just
Mhm.
drove in their car because it was so cold. And that just speaks to
But the
what the
kids rode their
club was.
bikes.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
You
Well, of
know.
course.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And you would think if that happens, that's a point where you should probably be embarrassed. You're like, shit,
Hmm.
we're supposed to be the old guard and we didn't even show up in our freaking bikes, which neither
No.
did the club owner. It's like Johnny didn't even show up on a bike,
Yeah.
Right.
which is very interesting. But it's like, it's still at that point, it's like personally, if I was there, it's like, I'm not going to let my freaking homie get gunned down by these little shits. Like they're on bikes. It's freaking game over. Like we're
I think it's like fight or flight.
probably,
Full on. I think that like it's totally normal to be
it probably
like
is.
flight
I,
and want to be in the
Sure.
car and be able to leave. But like for me, I'm always gonna fight. And
right.
that's
That's what
just how
I'm
I
typically the
stand.
person
And
who like it's the same type of
your
person.
fight,
Yeah.
yeah, and I feel like I mean, I would have wanted to do something. And
Right.
if
Right.
that got me killed, it got me killed. But
Right.
that's why I'm glad I wasn't born a man
Right.
because who knows what would happen at
That's
this
right. What
point.
stupid shit you can say.
Same here.
Right. But I'm a person who's recently been involved in gunpoint situations. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's just I don't know. It's oh fuck. But yeah, I don't know. I live a redneck ass life, I guess. So like it is what it is. I
Yeah.
don't know. Yeah, I guess is there anything else you want to dig into this? Or I mean, we've covered a lot of it. I'm really pleased with this movie. I was happy with it. I'm glad that I came out excited about it and ready to talk about it, but also in a way of like, know what you're getting into,
Yeah.
you know? And, but I think that it was a very solid made film, a well made movie with some great shots, some really classic, I think iconic cinematography, honestly.
Yeah.
Some of the shots and stuff in this, and I've seen some pictures of some of this movie in black and white, and I'm like, this movie would probably be fucking awesome in black and white.
Oh, that would be a great black and white like
Yeah.
release of it.
Yeah.
Especially with all those
Yeah.
old photos that were black and white.
Mhm.
Honestly, after seeing this, I'm like, I want to buy this photo book and just like set it out.
Yes.
Like I want to own it. I already looked. It's like 20 something bucks on Amazon. You can get it.
Oh, I'm
So
about
like,
to get it.
yeah,
Yeah.
Mm.
I
No,
want it.
it's awesome. I mean, like I said in the non-spoiler review, I just feel like it just does such a good job of depicting that biker mentality that a
Mhm.
lot of bikers I've known and like grown up with
Mhm.
and family members and stuff. Like I feel like just that freedom they have, and there's that one scene where they talk about like I want to die on this bike. I think that that's a really powerful sentiment, and Johnny says no, fuck that.
Right.
Right.
And I mean, I think that it goes both ways. I
Yeah.
mean, like there's people that is their life that they want to
Right.
lead, and then there's people that are like, no, this is a hobby I have, but I still want to
Right.
live my life.
Right.
You
I'm not
know?
gonna be in a freaking gang.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, you know. Yeah, we hung out with a we've mentioned him before, but I say hung out. We worked with a crazy guy in high school that was just off the rails that worked at Sonic back in the day when you and I used to roller
Oh
skate
yeah.
for money,
Yep.
but yeah, I don't want to mention him, but he was a crazy dude, the type of person that would he was more of like the hippie type of crazy. You know
Yeah.
who I'm talking about. I
Yep.
just didn't want to like
Yeah.
blast the name. But
Mm.
so anyways, and that dude, as from what I've heard, is dead now. Like, just a crazy by the seat of his pants. He's fun to be around, but you were also even back then, you're like, this guy's probably gonna end up in a gutter somewhere. Like,
Hmm.
and that's the type of people that this attracts. And I find it interesting that there's a film about that and about this. This is a very interesting time period as well because especially early on, it had some very 50s vibes,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
that's a cool time period. And you kind of got a little bit of that greaser, vibe of literally like the movie Grease, but it's like this was a little bit after that, but you kind of get the vibe of those type of people, and then it morphs into something in the 70s where you're like, oh, this is why and how it got out of control. And I think that's really cool to see in film and done in this way. But like we said, there's a few flaws, but overall, I think it's a really solid film.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
Yeah.
agree.
Sweet. Well, y'all want to check out Rotten Tomato scores real quick?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so y'all jibber jabber for a second because I should have had this pulled up, but I don't like to have it
How
spoiled.
dare you? First of all.
Yeah.
So Xena, you were saying 65-ish,
I
right?
actually wrote these down as
Mhm.
well.
Good for you.
Yes.
So you were like mid upper
It's
60s.
all right.
I'm gonna
Y'all don't
change
worry
it
about
to
it. I won,
69.
so it's all right. I still won.
Oh Jesus
So
Christ.
I was points away. I said
Wow.
80%, and it's at a 82.
Whoa. It's
Yes,
at an 82 for
82.
Rotten
That's
Tomatoes.
It is
Interesting.
crazy.
by 108 people.
Okay.
So it's a decent
Wow.
amount. It's not like maxed out, and they basically said they did already give it a critics consensus. They said fueled by charismatic cast and gritty authenticity, writer director Jeff Nichols yeah, Nichols, yes, approach. The Bikeriders offers a conventional yet impactful look at motorcycle culture. So, yeah, I did really quick since all of us were fairly praising it. We gave some complaints, but I did want to see some splats to see what basically like one person literally just says a 2 hour waste of a lot of fine vintage motorcycles. I mean, I don't know. I would not call this a waste.
Yeah, and also the motorcycles weren't that impressive.
Well,
They
they
weren't
weren't
like
really shown a whole lot because it's not about the bikes. I
yeah,
mean, like
Right.
it is, but
it
it
is,
isn't.
but it's not. It's
Well, and
about
it
their relationships.
it
Yeah.
took a little bit actually time period wise before bikes. They were bobbers were around, but these weren't even still the cool bobber motorcycles. Like they weren't quite there yet. They
I
were
don't even know
still.
what bobber means.
It's just a type of bike that
Okay.
some types of riders like this ride. But also they this time period is still cooler than like the modern like real cruiser types, the like
Yeah.
Harleys with the
Mhm.
giant bags and the when you go to that level either. So we have another person here who says there's a story here, and yeah, that story hinges on Johnny and Benny's choices, but their reasons seem murky even to themselves. And for all the cheerful exposition Kathy provides, Nichols seems happy to have it that way. I don't
That didn't
really.
even
A lot of
like
times
that didn't make sense.
these
Yeah.
sentences don't make sense, but basically it sounds like he didn't like how the story was. But also, bro, this is like based on a true story. So I mean, you're
Hypocrite.
right. You only deviate, but so much there before it just gets shitty.
Yeah.
So there's that. Yeah, he gave it a 1 out of 5. I don't know. I don't really totally hear you on that. And then here's another AV Club said, through rose-colored glasses, Nichols directs a nostalgic eulogy for a simple, uncomplicated biker that never existed. He built an inviable chopper without even gas in the tank that gets somewhere real. Interesting. So I wonder when now he said a biker that never existed, it makes me wonder if one of these characters weren't real. So I don't know. I
Right.
guess that is the interesting thing to know. We are coming into this a little blind and dumb. So the thing is like if
Yeah.
this more of this story was made up,
Right.
then we know. Then I am intrigued to know. But that's the thing about our reviews and how we handle things. We like to know as little as possible going in like most of the general audience.
Yeah.
So know that with us, even kind of back to our Boondock Saints, where it's like we didn't know a ton of the history or whatever. And I
Sure.
think that honestly, in most of these situations, it's like you need to kind of go in as blind as you can. If you go in knowing too much, then it kind of just changes the entire viewing of the film and your perception of it.
Mhm.
So I clearly this person knew a lot more than we do, and maybe we'll talk about it. I don't know. We probably won't, but
Yeah.
it is interesting to hear. Would be to hear from a perspective of someone who knows a whole lot about the story and how much of it is made up or not.
Well, it's
Yeah, I don't think it's through rose-colored glasses though, regardless,
No, no, absolutely
because
not.
this is a very brutal movie
right.
in a
Yeah,
lot of aspects, and I feel like it's very straightforward about the brutality.
Yeah.
yeah,
So,
And it's really like just whether, if from my perspective, how I go into this in most cases is just whether or not I enjoy the movie. Like,
yeah,
right.
is it enjoyable? Like,
yeah,
regardless of who made it, like,
Hmm.
sure, there could be some terrible person who directed it or produced it or whatever. Like, I don't look into those things. Like,
Right.
I'm just looking at the movie from the film perspective. Did I enjoy it? Was it good? And this movie exceeded my expectations for what it was, honestly, because
Right.
I don't enjoy biker culture. Like, I don't think it's a good thing. I don't think it should be promoted.
Right.
It is what from the perspective of what I perceive it as,
Right.
because I have a lot of experience with just the negative side of it. So, but they actually perceive or portray this as a very positive thing, especially in the beginning of
As a
just like
club.
a club, bunch of dudes wanting to get together. They enjoy motorcycles, engines, whatever it is. So like that portion of it, really love. But the like gangster side of it and like
Right. It is
it's
not.
it's
I
I
think
hate that
like
personally.
I just think age has a lot to do with it, but also like in real life, like my dad had a lot of biker friends,
Yeah, right.
and they were over at our house, or they were hanging out, or
Right.
they literally helped us move into one of our houses, and it's
And
like,
there are some of these clubs that are good and some of
yeah,
them
and
that are
it's
bad.
like I think that it really just depends, and it depends on like the people. It's all
Right.
about
Sure.
individuals, and it's one of those things where they have they largely do have this negative connotation, but even the Hells Angels has been known to do some really amazing
Sure.
things. And
For
so
sure.
Yeah.
it's just like I don't know, I'm always torn on just like painting a picture of
Right.
all of these people the same way,
Well, and that's the
you
kind of the
know.
thing is there's
Yeah.
good and bad apples in every bunch, whether it's one like these or not. And they kind of show that as well, where it's like
Yeah.
sometimes you get into something like this and you end up over your head. You try to still be a good person. And
I think that's why it was so
yeah,
good.
I think so
Yeah.
too. So I looked on Criticless right now. We do have 3 reviews. We have CK Andler. I don't know exactly how to pronounce that or if all of that is ran together differently than I did, but gave it a 70%, has already seen it. Sin's Corner as well. She's seen it and gave it an 80%. And we were actually talking about it before I went to see it. She said she liked it a lot. And I actually think if I'm not 100% sure, but this might actually be a husband and a wife, these 2 accounts. So because there was a mention of husband and wife on each of them talking about seeing it. So
Oh.
yeah. But and then also Lila Rose has seen it and gave it 100% as well because this was a early.
100.
Yep,
Whoa,
gave it
nice.
100%. So
Jesus.
right now we're sitting fairly high. This is well, actually, technically it is at an 80% is where it would be currently with 3 scores. We'll see
Okay.
what Odin thinks. I personally, from knowing Odin, he's normally not a person who gives things hyper high. Oh, he did. There we go.
Oh,
I
did
hit
his review?
refresh and it's there. So he gave it an 80%, which was honestly,
Nice.
I was going to put him slightly lower than that, but he really liked it. He said personally, he's quite a fan of Jeff's films, and he really liked this one a lot. So awesome.
Amazing.
Glad you enjoyed this, Odin. And he gave a really solid review. So make sure to go check out Odin's reviews. And he did rate it on the theme sliders. He said lots of naughty words, a
Oh
bit
yeah.
more violence, a bit of nudity, which I actually noticed too. I don't know if y'all caught that. There was
The
a
sex
hyper
scene.
brief sex scene
Yep.
on a table in public.
Yep.
And he's OMB
Yes,
reviews.
OMB
Yep.
reviews and Criticless. Yep. And then he said political bias. Thankfully, nothing in this one. And I totally agree. And as far as family friendliness, he said older teens maybe, and I would agree with that as well.
Yeah.
So, but I would also preface that with if teens see it, be like, make sure you're gathering the right things from this film and not the wrong ones. So, because this is
Yeah.
the exact type of thing which could also be like, man, I want to join a biker
Yeah.
gang.
I
I
Like,
want to go
wanna
murder
get a
somebody.
right.
motorcycle.
Yeah.
Murder Cycles. That would be
Murder.
an excellent name of a movie.
That's our band name.
Yeah, the Murder Cycles.
Yeah. I like that.
Motorcycles.
Yep. So, all right, guys. Well, I think that's basically it for this review of the Bikeriders, right? We
Yeah.
good? We gonna button this thing up?
Yeah,
Gucci.
I think
Cool.
we're good.
All right. Well, this week, make sure to check out on Sunday as well. We're going to drop our another Criticless Cast Unhinged episode of the Unhinged binge, but it won't be this crew. It will be from last week because we forgot to drop it because I got busy on the weekend and it didn't
Nice.
come out. So you're welcome.
Cool.
But yeah, so we're going to be dropping that on Sunday as well, and then make sure to just drop in for our regular news stuff. And as always, granted, if you've made it this long, definitely thank you. You're probably one of our regulars, but like, subscribe, follow, all that fun stuff. And we will see you again next week. We're going to be doing a Western. We're going to be talking about Horizon. So I'm
Alright.
excited to talk about this movie.
Hell yeah.
It will be fun. I mean, as everybody knows, I'm the Western guy. I love them. So I'm excited to see a new age Western in theaters. So we will be talking about that next week. So, guys, until next time, we'll see you later. Doses.
Bye.
Peace out.
A-Town.
Ding, ding.